Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. We have been on just a little bit of a hiatus as my life went completely off the rails. But guess what? Things are coming back. And we're back. And we are super excited to be here. Before we dive into that, David, who the heck is you? And what is we doing here?
Oh, that's right. I have to introduce myself. Hi, I'm David. This is the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show, where every week, mostly, we get together and we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, how to recognize marginalized groups by not playing certain stupid games, and all with a focus on intersectionality and interconnectivity and I missed a word.
Inclusion.
It's fine. Inclusion. I get it half of the time, every time.
You're great.
Also that we can have a great time. Oh my God, Jen is here.
We got Jen hanging out in the chat. Yes, Jen, we have been... So, everyone else, hi, I'm Kay. I'm the other co-host. I do normally a metric ton of TTRPG stuff, but you've not seen me in the space much lately because, well, some things have happened. For those of you who don't know, I will be moving about this time this next month. There's job stuff going on. There's been stress. Talk about inclusion, intersectionality. My brain chemistry has been like, haha, all those things you like doing, we're not going to do them. However, I am excited to say I appear on the Emergency Power podcast, which has not been on hiatus, and we've still been recording them, but it has been airing the Skittermander Saga Book 1, which is the amazing free TTRPG Day modules by Starfinder. We did these in association with We'll Save the Podcast and I feel like a bad person. I only made the graphics for them, you'd think. I would remember. But with Starfound, not Starfinder, Starfound. We'll Save the Podcast and some folks from the Emergency Power Podcast. Starting this coming Wednesday, I believe we are back with the main crew of the Second Hand. And my character Soul is, things are getting spicy for them. It's very fun. So hope you'll check that out every other Wednesday. Also, one of the things we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Through the Breach, because this is, and not to be confused with Into the Breach, which is an excellent RTS game.
Yeah, made by the same people who made Faster Than Light, and if you have less than 200 hours on Faster Than Light, you need to click the button, buy it, do the 500 megabyte download because it's tiny.
It's tiny.
And then play it for the next 200 hours. Unlock all the ships, go.
Through the Breach, on the other hand, is a TTRPG system, which we're going to use on Chalice, which is I'm joining the crew on the initiative order for Chalice, the Twilight Road Season 2. And that game is interesting because they don't use dice, they use playing cards. So we're going to be chatting a little bit about that because I'm still learning the system, and I'm playing a magic user, and David knows how rarely I actually play a caster. It's once again a half-caster class. I play a lot of bards, so I'm used to that. Bards and paladins. But, yeah, and then we're going to continue some of our learnings of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And that's kind of the plan for today. Unless amazing chat distracts us, which we love for y'all to do. And I'm going to stop shuffling the cards because I know they pick up on the microphone.
Also, so speaking of playing cards, remember the poorly written first episode of what's the Amazon show with the Good Omens?
Yes.
And there's this card trick where they flip the card with the thumb and it jumps over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a deck of playing cards. Amazon. Yeah. So I'm not going to get into a whole rant about Neil Gaiman. I'm not going to do it. All I'm going to say is out of the entire series, what episode was written poorly, and it was written by a particular someone, and it is the first episode, you are welcome to go Google that. And if he's mad about it, he can come fight me. I think I can take him. But he's scrawny. I got like 100 pounds on him. But
I am also going to very quickly correct the link that David put into the chat, because Chalice is actually a homebrew setting. Initiative Order is where you can find it. The Chalice is a homebrew setting within that we're going to be playing on that channel. The first season was a homebrew version of Call of Cthulhu, and this time we are using the Through the Breach system. It's confusing, as there is also a Chalice, but we are not using the Chalice system. Yes, that's the one. Chalice is the name of the kingdom that this game takes place inside.
I'll have you know that when I was doing my research, I was like 12 pages into the system going, okay, well, this is what they're going to be using. I was
Oh, David.
It's all right. Also, check out Chalice. Look at Chalice, and then look at Chalice.
Check out. We support indie TTRPGs. itch.io TTRPGs are awesome. Also, the Chalice, the Through the Breach system, not only do you use a deck, but you use both of the jokers.
Oh.
So
I didn't know you were
deck.
included twice.
Twice, I know.
But we do focus on inclusion here, so makes sense.
That was one of the... It might be the episode that airs on Wednesday. I don't remember. I have the social media schedule. I should open it. One of the upcoming episodes in our Starfinder game, an Emergency Power podcast, we finally get to a point where I get to ask a question that I've been sitting on, both in and out of character, for a very long time. Because, sometimes you get into a TTRPG and stuff starts happening and you're just moving as fast as you can, and there's just no time to stop and ask questions that are very important. And I'm like, okay, so my character character says blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, GM? And literally the entire crew stops and are like, what you don't see is Kay's Joker smile right now. They are smiling, and it is terrifying because they know they're onto something. Yes. Wednesday. Wait. That is January. February. Okay, no. February 15th. Tomorrow is Book 3 of the Skittermander Saga, which are also fun. They are at most an hour and a half long. What's fun about the Skittermander Saga is if you are looking to dip your toe into Starfinder and can I play in this system, can I run this system, all of the modules are free. It comes with pre-gen characters. You can go get, it is I think 4-book arc. So you can run this with your friends. There are pre-gen characters. Everything is set up for you. So you can listen to how we play it and then download the book and run it yourself, which is great. So the final book of the final episode of book 1 comes out tomorrow, and then March 17th we start back up with episode 17 of season 3 of the Emergency Power podcast. I'm done doing that.
Isn't the 17th around when we celebrate a certain Catholic saint in the States?
I'm sorry, the first is episode 17. When is the 17th?
The 17th is a Friday.
Yes. The Wednesday before that particular day will be episode 18, and episode 18 is very fun. Episode 18 is a really big... It's fun. It's fun. That's all I'm going to say. I got
also,
that grin again.
Don't call it a paddy wagon, because that's racist.
I didn't.
I know, but listen. My writing partner is from Massachusetts. She's descended from Irish people, and she has opinions about St. Patrick's Day, very strong opinions, which included in that is there are 3 amateur hour drinking holidays in the United States, St. Patrick's Day, New Year's Eve, and what was the third one she always say? 4th of July. Amateur hour. Like, real alcoholics drink every day of the week, not just 3 times a year, and also they go to meetings. If you have a problem with drinking, go to meetings. Now, if you could drink without getting it all over your shirt after like one, you're probably good. That is bad advice. Don't listen to it.
Yeah, I'm so happy we're having this conversation on the wholesome talk show, David. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, talking about, we have started a little bit of digging. We have not done as much as we want, but guess what? Oh, I don't think I even told you this, David. We hit a major milestone at work, and so my company gave me Friday off. So I have a 4-day weekend.
Wait, is there a holiday on Monday?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You would think in the middle of Black History Month I would know, but I don't. Oh, it's President's Day. Hey, yes. Check that out.
So, I'm going to hopefully get to dive into more of this because, like I said, brain chemistry is a thing, and sometimes the best you can do is nothing. And that's where I've been. But doesn't mean it's not percolating. I'm like, ooh, maps and more stuff. But one of the things that I've actually become pretty familiar with in Pathfinder 2E, because it is also in Starfinder, which is my most regular game at this point, is an interesting little quirk that 5E players are going to, like, perk up their ears on. There are no death saving throws in Pathfinder. Let me say that again. There are no death saving throws in Pathfinder.
So does that mean that when you die, you die? Like
when you die in the game, you die in real life? No.
Right.
So Pathfinder has a system called resolve points, and the number of resolve points you have depends upon your class. Yes, there is Irish American, and there's Boston Irish, definitely. And then, well, right. there is also the I'm Irish on St. Paddy's Day, which is a whole other thing. But resolve points. Resolve points, you will have a varying number depending upon your class, depending upon different feats that you've taken, and also depending upon your level, because as you level up, you get more resolve points. If you fall to 0 hit points, you gain the dying. You are out of the fight. At the beginning of your turn, you can spend one of your resolve points to stabilize. So you stop dying.
I mean, if only it were like that in real life.
Now, here's the other side of it is if you haven't used a resolve point at the end of your turn to stabilize, you lose a resolve point at the end of your turn.
So either way.
You're either going to, then once you have stabilized, once you are no longer dying, but still at 0 hit points, you can, when it comes back around to your next turn, you can use a second resolve point to go back to 1 HP and begin your turn.
Oh, wow.
So...
do you get a full turn after that, or...
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you use it as, like, a reaction or something?
It's a thing that you can do if you are stable but unconscious. You can do that at the start of your turn.
You can pull a Rocky and be like, I didn't hear no bell, and then get up.
And so again, this is a pretty flexible system because depending upon, there are feats that you can take where there's a feat called Die Hard, where at the beginning of your turn, you can spend 2 resolve points to stabilize and come back to 1 HP. Same turn. There are augments. Well, okay, in Starfinder, I don't know if this is in Pathfinder 2E because I have not dug that far into features in Pathfinder. But in Starfinder, spoiler alert, a certain character that I play might actually have this ability. You can do an augment because it's sci-fi, where whenever you spend that resolve point to get back into the game, you automatically gain some extra hit points. The counter side of this is if you hit 0 resolve points, your character is dead. And much like in 5e, if you are dying, if you are at 0 hit points, you are not stabilized, and you take a hit, you lose a resolve point. Now, at level, it also, so it's not, it is not, you don't get forever security blankets because once you hit, I think, once you hit 8 resolve points, it costs you 2 resolve points to stabilize, and then 2 resolve points to come back to 1 hit point. Can you spec for additional resolve in this system? You get more resolve points as you level up, depending upon, there are different things you can do, and I believe there are feats that you can take that can give you extra resolve. But here's the other thing, David, that's really interesting about resolve points, is you can spend them for other things as well. So my character in Starfinder has a special augment where they can spend 1 resolve point to go invisible for a minute.
Ooh, wait, 60. Now, so like round length in Pathfinder, which is something I have not.
5e.
That's 10 rounds. That's a long time.
Now, if I do a thing, I come invisible, or I become visible
still.
a thing. But it's great for reconnaissance. Like, and one of the first things my character did, spoiler alert for early episodes of season 3 of Starfinder, is like we were in this area and everyone was kind of taking a short rest that I didn't need, or everyone was doing something that I couldn't help with. And we knew we had to go through this thing, and I opened the door, and nothing happened when I opened the door, so I'm like, cool, I turned invisible. I sprinted down the hall, spent 30 seconds doing completely invisible reconnaissance, and was able to come back and tell them, hey, here's things you need to know. I have snuck up on a boss and been in position because I could turn invisible. Not in combat, but... so that is... one of our mystic... is able to spend resolve points to do healing, like massive healing spells, bringing people up like 35 hit points. So, as you progress through the game, you start gambling with those resolve points in a way. Starfinder, you can gamble with them a little bit more than I believe you can in 5e, because in Starfinder, David, have you seen stamina in Pathfinder? I've actually not looked to see if Pathfinder 2e does stamina.
One moment, since I have the book here.
I'm doing a check.
Stamina.
It's
the thing I don't have.
Yeah. Okay.
Looks like no.
So stamina is resolved ever refilled in natural. Yes, you gain your resolve points whenever you take a long rest. It looks like this is like stamina is in Pathfinder 2e, which means okay. So in Starfinder especially, and this is a little bit of a struggle for our incredible GM, is that you not only have hit points, you also have stamina points, which is kind of like a shield. It eats away at your shield before it starts eating away at your health. Which means combat's got to be pretty brutal to bring you down. And it's Starfinder, Pathfinder are kind of built less for those one big battle and more for several smaller combats throughout a thing to wear you down a little bit before you fight the big thing. And if you don't have those, then it can be pretty tough. It can be pretty tough to bring someone down. But again, as you get to higher levels, you can start using those resolve points to kind of gamble, and you're like, okay, this is a situation I don't think we're getting ready to rest for the night, so it makes sense that I would spend all my resolve points to help people heal. Because again, this is how it works in Starfinder, and I'm not 100% sure it's this way in Pathfinder 2e, but I think it is. When you long rest, you don't necessarily regain all of your stamina. You don't regain all of your hit points. You regain a number of hit points equal to your levels.
In 2E, a character regains all their resolve points with a full night's rest.
But you don't regain all of your hit points.
No.
So what that means is if I have 70 hit points and I have taken 40 points of damage, I'm down to 30, I'm level 8, I'm going to wake up with 38 hit points. So it makes more sense that the mystics and the healers are like, cool, spend a resolve point to bring you up 25, spend a resolve point to bring you up 25. So once we all rest, everyone's fully healed. But then you end up, if you're not sure, if you're in a tense situation and you're not sure if you're going to get the full night's rest, you might have to go into battle with low resolve points. That makes it much easier for you to die. So you can be a little bit more tactical, which also makes it a little bit of a challenge for a GM. Resolve is a flexible storytelling device. Yes. And sometimes, we've definitely had discussions around resolve is really, really useful, but it can also make it much more challenging. But between the stamina and resolve, it can make it much more challenging to make fights feel dangerous, like actually dangerous, without, accidentally killing players more than once.
So what I find fascinating is Starfinder has all these things like grenade launcher, flamethrower, things that do just an obscene amount of damage. And in other systems, I don't think it was D&D, but there's a certain amount of damage that you can take. Actually, no, I remember this from Baldur's Gate. So you're playing Baldur's Gate, your character dies, or one of the characters dies, and you're like, okay, I'll cart his body around and get him resurrected. But if you take too much damage, like if your HP is low enough and you take too much damage, then you get obliterated. And it's just like pop, and your parts go everywhere, and then you can't be resurrected. And I find it a little curious that I'm looking at the weapons list that they have of 20 different types of grenades.
Don't even. So here's the other fun thing about Pathfinder, Starfinder, is the reaction system is very scripted. So, for example, if I'm right up against a baddie, right, I'm fighting this thing and I'm in melee range to it, and I use a spell or a ranged weapon at it, like a ranged spell or a ranged weapon at it, that will trigger an attack of opportunity from it. But the attack of opportunity resolves before the action of the spell.
Ooh.
And I definitely learned this in an interesting way. And if you've watched the Emergency Power podcast, you know exactly how that changed everything for a certain someone. So that is an interesting... Now, not everything gets an attack of opportunity in Pathfinder 2e, which is cool. So it does allow for a lot more strategic and mobile battles. But when it does, they're going to get that attack of opportunity before your ranged thing hits. I know that there is another system too, where if you take over half of your hit points worth of damage in one blow,
yep,
you start. But no, don't even look at those grenades, David. My frickin' Solarian. And for those of you who don't know, Solarians are kind of like Jedi meet paladins. They're a charisma-based class, mostly melee, but also have, hey Vivian, also have some of these cool Jedi-like abilities. And their entire system is photon, graviton, light, dark, and they balance between the two. You can align photon, you can align graviton, and if I fully photon align, which takes 3 turns, which is a decent time in a battle, I can go supernova. Going supernova causes fire damage in a 10-foot radius from me. It is 1d6 per my Solarian level plus 1d6. So when I explode now, I do 9d6 worth of damage as a melee class. And because I'm photon aligned, all of my... if you photon align, all of your damage goes up by +1 every 2 Solarian levels, or every 3 Solarian levels, something like that. So it's like that +3, like just to insult you.
That's worse than Fireball.
It's pretty great.
I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast Fireball.
I may or may not have gotten to do this in one of the games. My GM may or may not have made a mistake very early on in saying, in the game that we play, we don't have inspiration, we have space popsicles.
Okay.
Because we like popsicles.
They're popsicles and they are in space. Got it. That I follow.
And you can use these space popsicles in various ways, much like inspiration. But one of the things you can do is you can make damage dice explode if you spin one.
So it's not I cast Fireball, it's I cast Exploding Fireball.
Yes.
That's a lot.
And I may or may not have done this with exploding dice while a teammate was exactly 1 square out of range. And GM's like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, I have done the math, and I did the math 6 times because it's me and I cannot math. I am not going to kill my teammate. I am very sure of this.
For once the math is mathing, let's do it.
They will be scorched, but they will not be dead.
And that's the important part.
So, the resolve point thing is a very interesting... Because the idea with death saving throws is that you're going back and forth and you have no control over it, right? Fate is deciding if you bleed out or not unless someone else intervenes. Whereas resolve points are like, it's going to take you out of the fight, right? But there are various things you can do. Like Yusoki, which are the mouse people, can stand from prone as a swift action instead of taking any of their movement. So a Yusoki with Die Hard can be knocked out, can spend 2 resolve points to stabilize and then to get back at 1 HP, stand up, and then in Starfinder you can pick up, you can draw your weapon as part of a move action. So they can, in 1 turn with that Die Hard feat, be absolutely back in the fight in 1 turn.
Wow.
Hilarious, you just described my favorite Magic Commander deck with I did the math, I won't die, I'll just be scorched. Yeah.
That seems like a top Kato move.
Absolutely. There was another fun little interesting Starfinder quirk. But yeah, I like it in that it also like challenges you to think strategically. Like, how do I want to spend this resolve point, right? Every time I use it to do this cool thing, I'm that much closer to dying if we enter combat, and it's a tough combat. Starfinder also allows you certain levels and certain things outside of combat, and there are certain feats you can do so it'll work in combat, to just take 10 plus your modifier.
I mean, if you're having seen rogues do rogue stuff, it's not necessarily everything. There are certain things. So like if you're doing a culture check, right? And you're like on your ship, because a lot of times, like in Starfinder, you travel for days through the drift. So you're just chilling on your ship. You can just, we're surfing the internet, like we're just going to take 10, add my modifier, and this is how we're going to know about this thing. But yes, rogue doing rogue. Also, I built my character to be a jack of all trades. If you do not build your character to be a jack of all trades, you can have ridiculous bonuses in Starfinder Pathfinder. Because every level up, you get 5 points to add to your various abilities. Wait.
Not to your
5?
base stats. Not to your base stats. So you
I
can't
know,
add it
but
to your deck.
like-
But we have, if you watch the Emergency Power podcast, frickin' Pawns rolls 30 to 40 perception all the time.
I would, as a DM, I would gouge out his eyeballs.
He's a floating brain. He doesn't have them.
I would give him eyeballs and then acid attack them. It's like, listen, your eyeballs are frozen, but I just got them. Shh.
But yeah, and so actually going back really quick, I'm sorry, I remembered a really cool thing that I only know because of Jeff from the Emergency Power podcast. One of the really cool things that, like, there are feats where you can take where you're like, no. I want to be the ultimate healer. I want to be the ultimate, like, guardian at death's door. There are feats you can take where, as a reaction, if someone dies, you can make them stabilize using one of your resolve points. So that is the way you make sure that your teammates do not die. Is you're like, no, reaction, you're alive again. Use your resolve point to get back up next. But of course that takes a feat, and that takes away from your resolve points. So it's very interesting. It gives a lot more flexibility.
I would definitely do that. Because I'd be like, so do you want to live? Because I see that you're out of resolve points, buddy. You want to live?
Let's negotiate. What you gonna do for
make me
me?
a convincing offer, right?
That is absolutely the, like, chaotic neutral healer.
Yeah, I should not be. Yeah.
I've played with one of your healers. They're interesting.
Yeah. But the point is, I forget what the point is.
Yeah, I was wondering what the point was.
I mean, I wonder what the point is all the time.
Yes. What is point? What is life? My current character is a Way of the Mercy Monk, Circle of the Spores Druid. You and your Way of Mercy Monk.
Yep.
Oh, we miss Navi too. I'm still afraid of what she's doing in my world.
Yeah.
She's out there.
Yeah. Causing trouble.
Now she's Shroom Mommy. Oh my god. I wish Stephanie was here to talk about I'm in a Ravnica game with a weird little plant person. My GM allowed me to homebrew a vegetation genasi. And I made them a Grave Domain Cleric, which is really funny because everyone is convinced they're a druid. And they have a big sibling who is a mushroom person, and David was like, why are you not playing the mushroom person as a Circle of the Spores druid? That would be terrifying. And I'm like, I know. I want the GM to use that against me. And Stephanie did. It
my favorite
hurt
part
so much.
of all of that is, in order to cast certain things, you need blood.
Yes. So literally, while my plant person bleeds sap, and I'd established this from the very start, and so I was like, "Hey GM, I just got some cool Grave Domain Cleric spells that require blood. Does this count?" And she's like, "It's funnier if not." And I'm like, "Okay," and like doesn't communicate very well, so I kind of waited until my best friend was unconscious, and then I collected his blood.
Yeah. Blood for the blood god, and by blood god I mean me.
Someone else tried to collect his blood. Like there was an NPC scientist who was like, "Oh yes, I would like some of that too." And I'm like, "No, my friend, my blood." It was, to be fair, it was to keep him safe.
Right. That, and in so many ways that's worse. That's way worse.
And now I can cast Bane. Huzzah. Could have asked for blood. No, just took it while he was unconscious because that's what a creepy plant person would do.
I mean, they're not using it right that second, so...
Exactly. It was just falling on the ground. They got shot.
Yeah, like, if you're just going to throw it away.
Oh, you know what else we should talk about, David?
Besides
We
dumpster
should
diving out in the back of a subway.
Yes, exactly that too. Blood shrooms. Hey, Urban Bohemian. So, I said this on Godplane, and one of my old friends in LA, who's an incredible comic artist, his Twitter handle is Urban Barbarian. And I now know Urban Bohemian, but Urban Bohemian plays D&D, which has a barbarian class, which Urban Bohemian is not really the barbarian type, but my brain is like Urban plays D&D, therefore barbarian, and so I keep tripping over it. I'm sorry, Brian. I know and love you. I swear. Yeah! Urban Barbarian, he's drawn me a couple times. I have several books signed by him. I would have grabbed them, but they're packed because I'm moving. Yeah, he's amazing. Yep. He is the nicest human being. I used to go to Drink and Draw with him and that whole crew every Thursday. That used to be my Thursday thing. I would love to know your opinions of Ravnica as a setting, and if you think the crossover of wizard properties was a worthwhile endeavor. So I'm going to be honest, I do not know all of that much about Ravnica because, well, technically, I'm not playing an off-worlder. My character was just, like, alive, like, 2,000 years ago and went dormant. So my character existed in Ravnica before Ravnica became a city. And so I kind of am able to play with that, like, I don't know and understand all of this. The guild system is really cool and I think fits nicely into a D&D thing. However, no surprise, like, I'm always having to reference, okay, wait, that seismic is this one. Okay, that one is... I can't even come up with the names right now because my notebook is somewhere. Figuring out, you know, my GM does occasionally put us through the hoops in that, like, I cast, like, identify or a magical thing will pop up and she's like, cool, it's green and white. And I'm like, okay, hold on, consult the chart. Which is good because I am learning, but I'm still learning. It is really fun playing with some people who know the Ravnican lore very well, because she'll say something like, it turned out my big sibling, this isn't a streamed game, so I don't mind spoiling it. It turned out my Plant Genasi's big sibling became a planeswalker. And when they said that, everyone who plays Magic was like, and then it was like, and then I lost the ability to planeswalk because I got trapped in a domain of dread, which I'm now the Dark Lord of. And so it was like, ooh, like they understood the, there was a gravity that was really cool. I do think it's useful. I do think it ties in nicely. But yeah, I don't know all of it that well. I have done some reading up, and I started to try to super read up, and she was kind of like, don't worry about it too much if you need to know. But, you know, I'm going to throw the... Oh, hey, Ezekiel.
Hello, I am Lord Zeke, the union representative for Dungeon Roombas. This is a friendly reminder to remove your children from the floor of the dungeon before leaving for raiding and pillaging the nearby village.
Unattended children will be given to the Goblin King.
Right. If you don't behave, we will feed you to the Dungeon Roombas.
Yes, we will. We are going to have to do some kind of Dungeon Roomba thing.
Oh yeah,
and we're going to have Ez guest star. But I was also, since these came out in the in-between of my ability to do this show for various reasons, I was on Carrie's channel in a zombie survival game. and that was very fun. And I partially bring this up because if you watch Death Toll Undead, I won't tell you if I made it to the last episode or not, but I will tell you that I appeared in the second to last episode. That is a game that is exit on death, and there is a very high death toll, and I will tell you that not everyone survived that second to last session, so I'm not going to tell you who all that is. That's why I was curious of Kay's opinion on this. I will forever be biased because I'm familiar with the source material. Yeah, I feel like... let me back up real quick. I feel like if you joined a game and the GM is like, if you don't know everything about Ravnica, then I will punish you. It would not be terribly fun. But kind of stepping in and being like, okay, this is familiar. Like, there's a lot of D&D stuff here that I know and recognize. So that makes me comfortable. While also there's a whole bunch, there's all different kinds of magic. It was fun because we found out, like, we had these magical tattoos that we were trying to get removed or figure out what they did. And someone came to us and was like, I can get you a potion that has actual dragon's blood in it. And I'm kind of like, okay. And everyone else is like, oh, there's only one dragon in all of Ravnica. And and it's like, oh, this is even more rare than I thought. So, yes. I'm learning C++, ATM. I want to do a text adventure with a Dungeon Roomba story. It's a great exercise for learning C++ on a non-professional level. Might need help. Write it, though. Word puzzles, lists of usable words. How much fun is that? I love it. But, yes, I got to play on Carrie's channel. I played Burton. Burton is military operation trying to get survivors out of this zombie infested city. I was told I needed a call sign for my character, and David gave me the correct answer because I'm like, David, I gotta come up with a call sign for what would this character be called by, their army fellas. And David's like, Cornbread. You show up with that accent, your name is Cornbread.
I remember that, absolutely.
And I'm like, yes.
It was such a reflex thing that I don't remember doing it. And then I was like, oh yeah, I did. That's precisely what I said.
Like, it is absolutely what would happen on base too, right?
Yep.
There is a moment, I need to send you the clip of the funniest moment of someone else, of like, another character was like, I had a nickname too. And it was wonderful. But I am taking the same seed of that character, and Burton is going to be in the initiative orders next season of Chalice, the Twilight Road, which is happens tomorrow. I am very excited to get to play with this group. It's going to air tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, so noon Pacific. And it's going to be, it's an interesting setup this season because the season premiere was actually last week, and that was one group. And then there's a second group that includes my group that's playing this coming Wednesday, who is chasing and hunting down the first group. So we're going to spend the whole season trying to track down the other party, and it's going to be like every 3 weeks. So it's going to be group 1 Wednesday, group 2 Wednesday, Wednesday off. Group 1 Wednesday, group 2 Wednesday, Wednesday off. So that was fun programming that into Google calendars so I don't forget. But that is the system that uses the Through the Breach, again, not to be confused with Into the Breach, which is a card-based system, and I got me some fancy pretty metallic cards to use.
So
they have
so tell us about the setting before we get into the nuts and bolts of gameplay.
So the setting in Through the Breach is kind of a cool industrial, not quite steampunk, not quite modern, but like industrial era setting of there's guns, there's cool magitech, beginning of the industrial. I get to use a shotgun, which I'm real happy about. And then the game itself, Chalice, is a homebrew by Ben, the GM. And it is a world where magic users are not entirely uncommon, but they're a little bit like the X-Men. They kind of spring up for reasons we don't know. And there are two powerful government agencies, the Inquisition, which works with the church, and the Wardens, who are a little bit more sheriff-y, police-y, who their job is to basically find and either recruit or kill magic users, because magic is very dangerous. I had the chance to build, like, my character could have been the kind who makes tiny little robots, and I could have little robot companions running around after me and fighting things, but I went a slightly different route because that seemed more fun. I think I've heard one called that Aetherpunk. Yeah, Aetherpunk sounds about right.
So you're saying that magic users have a high percentage chance to show up and ruin Scott Summers' day?
Yes. Let's be fair. Just about anything has a chance to show up and ruin Scott Summers' day.
Right.
Ruining Scott Summers' day is like the goal of everything in X-Men, and I applaud it.
Yeah. No one deserves that more.
Like, Emma Frost was sleeping with him and still trying to ruin his day?
Which, let's be fair, if you're sleeping with someone and they don't occasionally trying to ruin your day, is the sex even that good?
So yeah, it's a new system for me to learn. And again, I'm playing a magic user. They do an interesting system where I'm a half magic user. I'm half little bit of magic. Little bit of magic. And I'm on the side of the government.
Ooh.
I know. I had the choice, and I was like, "Nah, let's play a good old person who government's protecting us. Magic users are dangerous and powerful, and it worked for me. So I don't understand if you're a magic user, why you're running. Just come join us, and it'll be fine. We'll take care of you. It worked for me. Why is it not working for you?"
Oof.
I'm hoping I get a redemption arc, but I don't know. Ben is not the nicest GM.
I mean, listen, I am the last person to advocate for the rightness and supremacy of any government that is hunting down a minority.
It was literally a case of, like, you can, and it's not necessarily, like, at least it's not clear to us, and it has been told it is unclear to us as players if the government is truly corrupt, or if, we were very specifically told if you are on the side of the government, you are not necessarily evil, right? And I was like, no, I kind of like the idea of let's consciously, like, with an understanding that this is not the right way to be, let's play the person with the privilege. Let's play the person where the system worked for them. And then they can watch it all fall apart, because I have no doubt this is all going to fall apart. It's going to be so bad. Hot take. Rebels are evil in Star Wars.
Okay. So, here's the thing. People who've watched, like, especially the original trilogy, don't understand scale. And George Lucas does a really bad job of, like, describing it to them. But, like, when you get into the extended universe, when you play some of the games, like, there's this really obscure Star Wars game, which I understand is an oxymoron, but very few people have played it. But it's a galactic conquest game. And when you play the Rebel side, you basically got, like, 3 planets. And it's like a galaxy. Like, you don't even have, like, a whole, like, star system. And then you just got to battle your way out of it and take over the whole galaxy. But, like, people don't realize that the rebels you see in the Star Wars movie, that's all of them. The Empire is the entire complete
You started a
overarching.
lot.
Yes, yeah. Uh, like the Empire is the galaxy. The whole Milky Way is the Empire. And so for like, Luke who has beef with his dad for some reason, and the old man who shows up is just like, you've been farming water in this desert, but there are bigger things afoot. The wh- the point is, the rebellion are terrorists. The rebellion are terrorists, and then they go and they destroy the biggest, most expensive thing that they can find. And sure, it's a weapon. It incinerates a planet. But and it's a very simple allegory for like, nuclear weapons. Like, you have the biggest bomb, and if everybody doesn't have a bomb as big, then you're in charge. Because a very big, like, what was it, which president was like, walk softly and carry a big stick? If your stick is, I make your entire planet go away, then your footsteps could be as silent as you want. They're terrorists. They go out there and they terrorize, and they blow up political symbols. They attack the war machine, and in a very real sense, they're a little bit, just like a tiny bit, like religious fanatics too.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Roosevelt, walk softly, carry a big stick. Where we get teddy bears from, because apparently he killed a teddy bear, and then anyway, no, he killed a bear, and then the bear was named. That's
He
a whole
killed a
different
bear,
thing.
and then they made stuffed bears to be cute about how cool is it that this dude killed bears. Okay. Very quickly. Actually, okay, we're not there yet. I want you to also tell us, David, about how what's his name, the second in command on Voyager, was also a terrorist, but also.
Oh, Chakotay.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So, what's interesting about Deep Space Nine is the departure it makes from the episodic content of the previous Star Treks. Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation, it was, we show up, we ruin your whole civilization, and then we fuck off. Like, we just go and we have a good time, we have some sex on the ship, some dudes wear skirts, it's great. But there's no like living with the consequences of the imperial nature of the Federation. And the Federation is well-meaning, but also we're still human, and there is like a little imperialization that happens. And so you have on the very outskirts of the Alpha Quadrant, this backwater, like East Kentuckian sort of area where the Cardassians, not the Kardashians, the Cardassians, are bullying these people.
It really changes the whole tone of Deep
Right?
Space Nine, though.
Right. And so you have this offshoot of the Federation, like you have these renegades who are like, hey, it's not okay that the Cardassians are bullying these people. And the Federation didn't care until they discovered oil. I mean, until they found the wormhole. And so you have these people who are like, listen, the Bajorans should be free. The Cardassians should be, if not dead, then at least chilling on their own planet. And the Federation should really just let these people and let us not be a part of the Federation. And the Federation's like, no. And to be fair, they are AWOL. Like, they are a military faction that has broken off from the Federation. It's the Federation's job to get their people in line. But also, maybe they should have prevented or fixed the situation that started all that. And so Voyager happens, or the story happens because the USS Voyager are in a fist fight with the Maquis on the border between the Alpha Quadrant and the Delta Quadrant. And during this fist fight, they get launched into the Gamma Quadrant, wherever they go. very far away, and then they got to figure out how to like integrate as people. And it's like, on the one hand, you're terrorists. No, on the one hand, you're oppressed peoples. Like, your friends and family have fallen through the cracks, have been forgotten by this utopia. You are this minority, and all of a sudden you got to make friends with your oppressor. And then on the other hand, you have these people who are like, these are terrorists. They've been going around blowing up stuff and stealing stuff and spitting on our ideals of like unity and equality and freedom, and we're supposed to make nice with these guys. Part of what makes Voyager interesting, especially for the first like 3 or 4 seasons, minus all the Neelix and Kess stuff, which don't even get me started about that. I could do a whole podcast about how they fumbled the bag there. But part of what Ronald D. Moore and Braga and the other executive producers of Voyager were getting at is this evolution of the idea of that the Federation is well-meaning but not perfect. And now you have to bring the Federation to a place that does not have the infrastructure that they're accustomed to, where they also have to deal with the external threats of different ideologies along with the internal threat of conflicting ideologies. It's really fascinating. And it was really well done, especially when they fold in Seven of Nine and the Borg, and Seven going, this really isn't better, right? Like you guys, it's different, but it's not better. There are better ways to do this.
But Chakotay.
Well, for one, since it's Valentine's Day, true love is carving a bathtub for the woman you're into. But Chakotay is a minority twice, because he's Native American, he's indigenous, and then on top of that, he's one of the rebels. And then as the leader of the small faction of the Maquis, he is now on the ship and agrees to be second in command to Janeway, and in a lot of ways has to like re-assimilate into the Federation that he rejected. Chakotay is an incredibly complicated spiritual character, and I was going somewhere with it and completely forgot. The end.
Okay. Let's see if this is going to work, because I don't... Oh, okay, it kind of is. I see it. Hold on. Studio mode made this very weird. Okay. Wow. This definitely... Okay. I was stalling because I'm trying to do a thing. So you can watch it too. Okay, killing music. But you asked, what is the setting of this? Well, here we go. And I'm really hoping that the audio on this is going to play. So that is just kind of the little intro explainer of the setting of Chalice Twilight Road. They have a really interesting thing too because, like I said, they use cards instead of dice, and the suits are very important. You can use it with you can play it with a regular set of cards, but each of the suits is something different. So like hearts are rams, and I don't remember what all the others are yet. I have a cheat sheet. Rams are hearts, crows are spades, tomes are clubs, and masks are diamonds. And if you want to... Oh, that's cool. If you want to cast a spell, certain spells require a certain suit of cards. So when you... Just like with, 5e with Pathfinder. Oh, I think I forgot to turn the music back on for y'all. Huzzah! There we go. Just like in Pathfinder D&D, you have... When you roll a dice, you have modifiers that you add or subtract from your character. Same thing happens here. So, you do my character... shotguns are based off of grace, which, I don't know, I think that's a weird thing to assign to shotguns. But okay, I guess aiming requires a certain amount of steady-handed grace. IDK. So you have a modifier to your grace, then you have skills that you can level up. So, I have my +1 in grace plus my 3 levels in shotgun. So I've got a +4 anytime I go to shoot anything. So if I have to hit a 5 to hit something, I have to flip at least an ace, because aces are low, so aces are 1s. But spells require...
I'll have you know that as an ace, you're a 10.
Aw, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yes. I couldn't just let that go.
But certain spells require, this is a card that requires, or this is a spell that requires a rams in order to go off. So if I try to cast magic and I don't have a club, I don't flip a club. I have to get a high enough card, but also the right suit. But here's what's cool is you have the main deck that everyone draws from, which, by the way, Lynn, who's playing in the party with me, does pointillism, and she custom made all of the cards that you will see in the game. She custom drew and then scanned decks. Is that not in yet? Ooh, okay. She custom did the entire deck, so whenever we flip a card in that game, you will see her artwork, which is incredible. But for most people, for average people, that's just what your life would be. However, those of us playing the game, we are fated, and we actually have a Twist Fate deck that at the beginning of each scene, and depending on various things, we can draw them. You can have up to 5 in your hand, but you have cards in your hand. And so I'm like, I need at least a 2 of clubs to cast this spell. I'm going to flip it, and then if I don't have enough, I can be like, no, I'm replacing that card with this one. I am twisting my fate. So you can kind of take more calculated risks because you have a certain number of cards that you can use, but that also means those cards are off the deck. That also means if you really want to fail a roll, like a thing happened where I had a character sneak away, and I really wanted people to see it, to see what was going on. I wanted someone to be in on it, but I rolled too damn high, and everyone else rolled too damn low. In this one, I could be like, nope, great excuse to get rid of a 2. I want everyone to see this, so I'm going to fail this sneak roll deliberately. Or if you're like, this is an insignificant thing, I don't actually care if it happens or not, I'm getting rid of the ace. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, no.
I gave a very long pause waiting for where that was coming.
So, but I'm thinking about Chalice, and I'm thinking about you're essentially not necessarily a cop, but definitely an arm of the government, an agent of the government. And it brings back a reoccurring theme, at least in American politics, of, well, you got to have cops. And there are arguments where you do and arguments where you don't. But the reality is, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the more relative power that you have, the more likely it is to be abused. So if you can use magic, if you can use, if you could raise the dead, if you are a mutant and have the ability to teleport wherever you want, or any of these other easily leveraged abilities, then that is going to invite misbehavior.
Mm-hmm.
And there will always need to be, like, a just society will have a group of people that protect those without power from the ones with power.
Mm-hmm.
But then that particular group, that group of protectors, will be imbued with both a practical and a legal power. And so Burton might not be a villain. Burton might be the, hey, I'm helping everybody out.
Misbehavior is an excellent drag name.
What's the lady in League of Legends? Kato, if
Misfortune.
you're still there, that one. Also a fantastic name. I was like, they Dear Riot, I have many complaints, but that one you hit out of the park. Especially since she's like vaguely Katy Perry-ish.
Oh, don't insult Misfortune like that.
Fair.
Leave her alone.
Mr. Cato, I always need you. Always.
But yeah, so Burton has always kind of been, like, in every incarnation, like, the good old person, right? Who, like, Burton's from, Burton's farm folk. Salt of the earth family, like, grew up on the farm, always thought they was going to get married and have kids and take over the family farm, and that's just their whole life was planned out for them. And in every, like, that's the one recurrent thing for them is whatever the setting is, they had their life planned out, and then they turn out to be a prodigy of some sort, right? And so in Death Toll Undead, they were just very good at theoretical medical science and joined the military because how else are you going to get to do that? How else are you going to get that education? Because family certainly
Full
couldn't.
Medical Alchemist.
Yeah, basically. And so in this one, they develop magical powers early on and kind of go through this process of like, okay, I had my entire life planned out for me. I knew how this was going to go, but turns out that wasn't correct. That wasn't right. So they're on a little bit of a journey of like, what else isn't right? What else have I assumed? So I try to leave that door open because look, I've known, for those of y'all who don't know, and I think most of y'all here do, I grew up in real small town Texas. People assumed, oh, you're gonna have babies and settle down with your high school sweetheart. Like, that's just what everyone did. And there's a lot of really cool, really good-hearted, in the land of cornbread. There's a lot of really there's a lot of really good sweetheart people who could have been a lot more, or who might have very different opinions had the world not been decided for them so early on. And it's a little bit of what's the bad Star Trek?
That doesn't narrow it down.
The one that takes place, the very first one, that's got the really, really shitty theme song.
Oh, Enterprise.
Yeah.
Ooh, woof.
Not a look. Zuko has a special place in my heart that no one will ever. But like the engineer Trip, yeah. Trip. I love Trip. Trip's like, rockets are cool. And they're like, you can't go on a rocket unless you know math. All right, I've learned math now. Can I go on the damn rocket? Like, and that, like, and I hate saying this because, like, he is incredibly problematic, but, like, Sid in Final Fantasy VII, if he weren't an abusive asshole, right? Just that, like, single mind, like, no, I can do this. I'm gonna do this, right? But I'm, unlike Sid, Burton's going to be a good person while they do. They're going to try to do the right thing. And they think they're doing the right thing because, like, oh, there's scary magic users out there. There's scary zombies out there. And yeah, I got to go. Like, we gotta make sure people's safe. And who better do that than the government?
So you want Sid from Final Fantasy XIV, because Sid from Final Fantasy XIV is like, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed a long time ago. I thought I was doing the right thing. Then I figured out that I wasn't doing the right thing. And while I figured out that I wasn't doing the right thing, I did worse things. And since then, I've been really making it up for it. And, like, yeah, like, airship cool, but also maybe I should do this thing that saves the world. Okay, world saved, back to airship cool.
Yes.
And I really dig Final Fantasy XIV Sid.
Yes. I wish I dug Final Fantasy 15 Sid as much, but that's a whole other conversation. They gave me enough shirtless and leather-clad men that I guess I can't complain about Sid in 15.
You're talking about is she the daughter or granddaughter?
Does it matter?
No. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, why'd you have to do that? I know why you had to do that, because you've got 4 dude thirst traps as your main characters, but...
Yes, but also, like, there's actually a real-world corollary that I discovered and then forgot about and then rediscovered, where there's this Chinese engineer that has had all this plastic surgery, loves to cosplay, dressed up like a bimbo, and she's like, also, by the way, I'm smarter than you. Like, I do electrical engineering and I build cool shit. And this is why I chose to look this way. And I'm like, you know what?
Respect. But Biggs and Wedger.
Bidge and
Biggs.
Wegs.
Look, it's been a long couple weeks.
I'm going to put 2 characters in something called Bidge and Wegs.
Biggs and Wedge.
I'm going to write that down right now.
But yeah. And, you know, I will say, like, also one of my favorite... I love himbos. I know everyone knows this. But Hemsworth in the Ghostbusters reboot.
Which I have not seen.
Okay. It's not as bad as everyone complains about. It's not great. It would have been better, except it's not very well edited. But Hemsworth plays the secretary. Yikes.
Well, okay. As someone who is a below-the-line employee, as someone who lives with an award-winning editor, I've had a lot of conversations about bad editing. And Kato and Fig both will attest that I've screamed about bad ADR.
Literally, the movie would have been so much better, except the editing gets in the way of the humor.
And I really feel like Elizabeth Banks has been done dirty by the industry, because she's on the cusp of being a brilliant filmmaker, but held back by poor writing and bad production. But that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, like I carved the Screw University as a pumpkin one year. Like, it's so great, except it just doesn't quite get there. But Hemsworth plays the secretary. So all of the Ghostbusters are lady types, and Hemsworth is their himbo secretary. And at one point, he's got these thick glasses, and she's like, "Do you have no frames? Do you have no glass? There's no glass in those glasses?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it would like fog up, so I just took them out." But then he's also like, "I can't see without my glasses." It's joy. It's
Oof,
joy.
yeah.
You want me to rant at you, bring up the editing in average modern action film? Yeah, I get very bored in action films, I'm not going to lie. David's heard me complain about this, but that's a whole other. But, yeah, I really love... like... So yeah, for me, like, there's Trip, there's, like, Burton is kind of my nod to all of those people that I grew up with, where I'm like, you could have been a really cool person if you ever went outside of... If you, A, ever went outside of what everyone told you you were going to be, and B, you just met someone who you didn't grow up with. It's amazing.
Met someone who you didn't grow up with when you had an open mind.
Yeah. So I do have, like, there's still a part of me that really loves, you know, the South and my parts of my Southern heritage, but also, like, I don't want to go back there. But also, like, hey, if you talk like this, there's cool, you can still do cool stuff. Like, don't worry. There's room for you here, even if you talk like this. So every so often I got to throw in one of these because, like...
This is why Dolly Parton is one of my favorite people on earth, because Dolly Parton was like, "Oh man, that is just the most beautiful woman I have ever seen," and somebody goes, "Oh, but she's trash," and she's like, "Well, that's what I want to be. I want to be trash." And there has never been an example of more elegant trash in the history of trash than Dolly Parton.
I paid a lot of money to look this cheap.
Right. Also, you do that too well. Never again, please. But yeah, and like, as someone who's lived on the outskirts of small town life and has been on the outside looking in, there are enormous advantages and there are tons of really, really, really great things about small town life. Like, one of my favorite things in life is to go into a bar and the bartender sees me, waves, pours alcohol into a glass, and slides it down to me. Because they know. And if you live in a small town and you have your spots, then people get to know you in that sort of a way.
You want to go where everybody knows your name.
Right. And there's a great simplicity of, you know, you go to the store and there's the one brand of X that you buy and the one brand of Y that you buy, and then you go home and that's it. But also, like, you know, having like one of the downsides is you've got a Denny's and a Waffle House. And you haven't had 6 different types of curry from 6 different countries. And you also don't get to meet people from those 6 different countries. Yeah. But, oh man, yeah.
The way I see it, if you want that rainbow, you got to put up with the rain.
Amen.
But yeah, and also, like, one of the reasons I fell so in love with TTRPGs is I was like, holy cats, as a kid, having a space where trying on something, trying to be something different, isn't known by everyone and forever remembered by everyone. Because I went to kindergarten with 13 of the people I graduated high school with.
Yikes.
So change and growth, they were allowed if you grew in a certain direction. But yeah, so that's part of why I am so passionate about all of this. Part of why it grabs me so deeply. And I am lucky that certain people on the screen with me, hanging out in chat, went on my first TTRPG adventure with me and are still here, and I love y'all.
We have a good time and we explore
make people cry.
A lot of things. And one thing I realized in having conversations with a couple of friends of mine that it's incredibly rare to be able to write professionally and write for fun at the same time.
Mm.
Like everybody who claims they're a writer wants to write a book, wants to write a screenplay. But most books don't make money. Even more screenplays don't make money at all. And it's really nice to be able to pour your creative energy into something that isn't just a professional endeavor, but also like helps other people.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to all the fun that we have, we also do really, really great charity stuff, which is a huge upside. And some of us got deserved awards for it.
One of us is going to have a keyboard soon.
Yes, soon. And there will be many more awards in the future.
Oh my God. That.
That sounds like both a dream and a nightmare.
Kato says my dream is to copyright this whole legal document without hitting backspace. Nope.
Because it's one of those like this could be heaven or this could be hell.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah. Look, as a dyslexic, there's no way I can write anything without hitting backspace. It would be unintelligible. But
yep.
I think that's leading us to the end of our time. We've been at it for an hour and a half almost. I'll send you a keyboard if you like.
Ooh.
A review if you would only use one.
Do you have any clacky, like super clacky, extra loud, deafening keyboard? Anyway, as you were saying,
David is going to be able to show off Extra Life for as thanks for all the money we raised at our December charity stream, where we absolutely did not spend 3 hours making fun of Elon Musk. That was absolutely not the entire point of that.
Do anything like that.
Extra Life is sending David a Extra Life branded keyboard as a thank you.
And there will be pictures of something else that Kay got me in a particular season that I purposely did not reveal to the internet so that I could have my own moment to show that up.
I'm getting ready to send you something even worse. I'm very excited. God. I'm very excited. You're going to be so pissed. I found this and I'm like, ooh, David will hate this. I'm so excited. But yes, so we wandered a little bit all over the place. We talked about Pathfinder 2e, we talked some about Starfinder, we talked about a little bit about Death Toll Undead, which I was in, and then we talked a little bit about Through the Breach, which I'm going to be playing my first game of tomorrow on the initiative order in Chalice, Twilight Road, Season 2. Did we miss anything? Any questions you all still have? Any rants you would like to short rants that you would like to send David on before we sign off for the time? Let me say again, sorry we missed the last couple weeks. My life has been very bananas, and I super appreciate all y'all hanging out. I have missed you. It is great to chat with you all. It is always a treat to get to come here and chit chat, not only with one of my best friends, but with all the amazing people in chat. It was great to see all of you. I am doing my very best to keep streaming regularly on Thursdays. Sometimes it's Pokemon. It might be some Stardew Valley. It might be, I just got Bravely Default 2, so I might stream some of that. However, it's probably going to be big chunks in between because I have a large commute about to start, so I'm going to be playing some stuff on the train. Someone also may have gotten me the Placid Plastic Ducks game. So every so often you will see me chatting while we see what rubber ducks fall into a pond. And it is elevator pitch on Bravely Default. Well, Bravely Default, the first one, I don't know how... Bravely Default, the first one, is a very pretty JRPG, turn-based, by Square Enix. It is called Bravely Default because you can brave and you can default. So you can brave and attack like 4 times in a row, or you can default, which puts you on defense for a couple turns, and then you can do even more attacks in a row. JRPG, the original, had a lot of really awesome voice actors. This newer one is hopefully going to be a little bit less problematic because the first one, they kind of did that thing where the lead chick is like 15 and they had an entire scene where it was like, oh, we meet this old guy in the woods, but he's only going to help us if she agrees to wear this bikini around and do various things. And yeah, it was a little bit creepy. So I'm hoping this one is a little bit better, but so far I really like it. Has not been creepy, and all of the characters seem to be of age. You play a sailor who washes up on a shore that they do not know, and there is a princess whose kingdom has been destroyed, who is hunting down the crystals. And yeah, it's a very, very, very pretty... Square Enix does pretty. Like, it's a pretty game. Turn-based, decently strategic, but JRPG, so you're going to be putting... I hope this one has a city builder. The last one had a city builder, and I spent a lot of time doing the city builder, and I really like city builders in games. It's a problem. It's been a problem since Breath of Fire 3, and if you haven't played Breath of Fire 3, you really should play Breath of Fire 3. That's all. There's also Elvis, yes.
What?
Elvis and... Is Estelle? Is that... What's the name of the Elvis's lady-type friend? And he's got a very, very thick accent, yeah. Who are the characters? I'm searching right now. If I could spell. Cast of character. Tell me who they are. Adele. Yeah, Elvis and Adele.
Now, is it Elvis just a name or like?
No, Elvis and name, but they're with Elvis and Adele. They're obviously making references. It's also got a really cool job system. You can any character can do any job, and you can switch your job classes on the fly. So you can level up this one character in, whatever, and then take some of those spells and still access them while you're in a different job class. And it's very cool.
I have a whole rant about Elvis that I'm not gonna.
Oh boy. Okay. Yes.
No.
Well, I think with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you all again for hanging out. It is great to see all of you. You always make us laugh. You always give us the challenging questions. I hope I can get to see some of you tomorrow over in the initiative order. It's totally cool. It's the first time playing with any of these people. It's going to be fine. It's a totally new system. I'm playing a magic user, just don't normally do. No pressure. It's going to be totally fine. It's all going to be great. And then hopefully Thursday, I should be back and streaming again. If you have anything you would like for us to cover, as always, please give it a shout. And,
especially anything Pathfinder, because that is our focus for the next at least couple of weeks.
Right. We are still digging further into that. But also anything else. Do y'all want to go watch some Star Trek Online, or do you want to watch some Majora's Mask?
Star Trek Online.
Star Trek Online? Okay, we will go raid Cryptic Studios here in just a moment. I'm going to start that raid. Thank you all again. I have been Kay. This has been David. You all are wonderful. Give yourselves a hand, and we will see you all next time.